Hey, welcome back to the channel. I am Ramona, and this is another video of what is some of the worst things, the worst thing someone has ever said to you, part 2, because the thread was long, and we like to break them up sometimes. So here we go, ready? I wasn't the person she fell in love with anymore. I had changed because of a year of mental and emotional abuse from her, my now ex. I had to learn to shield myself. You're going to miss everything cool and die angry. Okay, that wasn't said to me. It was Patton Oswalt, a heckler on one of his CDs, and the guy kind of deserved it, but damn. Yeah, comedians are supposed to be funny. Yeah, that dude to me has never been funny. I do creative work, and my sister told me, you'll never actually achieve anything because you're just not very good at what you do. Then I started doing some big work, and she tried to claim I'm involved in drugs and human trafficking in order to find some success. She also tried to catfish me on a dating site. I hate my family. I think you have the right to there. Any asshole could do what you just did. This was said to me by my own mother on the day after my graduation, and being the first person in my family to graduate from a university with honors. My parents came to stay over at the house I was renting. I asked my mom if the family was okay with staying over during the weekend so I could show them the city that I was studying at. She said fine. Turned out she said nothing to my family and decided that I was to be ready to leave within an hour after the graduation ceremony. My dad didn't want to worsen the situation or escalate it, so he kept quiet while she shouted at me for having packed my suitcase messily, then forced me to empty everything and repack my clothes, books, which nearly got me late for my own graduation. The reason why she said the above quote was because she was calling me stupid and worthless, and that's when I tried to be an adult and stand up to her, proudly showing my copy of my dissertation, which got me a good grade and great feedback. She didn't change her tune. I didn't realize it at the time, but she was a manic, bipolar person who wanted to turn me into her future nurse for her elderly twilight years, someone to forever hold her purse and clean up after her. I think she expected and hoped that I would fail college, so she was surprised and felt threatened that I wound up making it through, so hence why she decided to beat me down. Luckily, my degree helped me to get out of that crazy despite of the recession, so all of you kids with batshit crazy parents, stay in school. So you got good advice at the end there. And you gave good advice. I had an instructor pull me aside in the last day of class before we had to do a 6-week on-the-job placement. He basically told me to keep my mouth shut, so do what I'm told and I'll probably be okay. He just didn't like me for some reason. That really effed with me because I had done really well in the course. I graduated with a 94% average, and this guy basically told me I was an F up. Thankfully, when I made it to the OJT session, more than one of the people I was working with saw potential in me and kept after me. One of them even took me aside and told me that I'd be awesome in the profession and that I had the skills to place to achieve great things. That made me feel a whole lot better. Even today, and that was probably 12 or 13 years ago now. A few people have called me ugly. I'm sure there have been worse things, but the ugliness of that sticks with me since it's true. And someone replied with, one of the least pretty people I know has the most fun personality and has a lot more self-confidence than me, while the most pretty girl I work with as soon as she talks is annoyingly childish, trashy, and comes across as a bit insecure by having to hang out with certain people all the time and massage others' egos. Yes, she is attractive with a ton of makeup, but would I want her as a girlfriend? F no. One time, when I was getting fired, this squatty bee delivering the axe said to me, I want you to know that I care deeply for you, and this is really hard for me. The fuck did she want from me, a hug? I find the lies the worst. I've had managers say with a fake smile, I really want you to do well and progress in the company, when it's obvious they have no intention of promoting you, no matter what you do. Mom told me all arguments were my fault. Dad told me I ruined the holiday for all the family. Some girl told me I was a mistake. I had a man with no psychosis experience tell me I was a hypochondriac of mental illness. Turns out I have paranoid schizophrenia, major depression, and anxiety. One of my voices just wouldn't let go what he said. Wouldn't let go with what he said, so I got to hear it repeated to me. F that guy. Your boots are ugly. Well, I guess if that's the worst thing, you're doing something right. I showed my friend my engagement ring, and she said it looked like it came out of a Cracker Jacks box. I had known her since grade school, but we drifted apart after high school. She was one of two maids of honor in my wedding. I didn't want her, not just because of her comment, but my mother insisted, and she was paying for the wedding. Not sure which is worse, so I'll list them both. First one was my family was in therapy together, and my dad mentioned some arguments in his marriage were whether to get me braces or to take out loans for me to go to college. Come to think of it, my father says, all the major arguments me and my mom had were over, or me and her, the mom, had were over the OP. Second one was a friend of mine was convincing me that I shouldn't date a guy. He's a 2, you're at least a 5. Most insults are said in anger, and I can blow them off because the other person is obviously trying to hurt me. These two comments were said with the utmost sincerity and without malice, which is what made them hurt so much more. I'm lesbian. I'm sorry, but I'm breaking up with you. The other team's mercy is better. Ew, you're a bad hugger. Ew, did you know your girlfriend is such a bad hugger? So awkward and bony. It went on for 10 minutes. He had to tell everyone. This was in high school, probably close to 10 years ago. Still hate hugging people. I've seriously never been able to do it since without a rush of anxiety and normal screwing it up. F you, Mike V. I wish my daughter never married you. I hope she leaves you and finds someone who can actually take care of her. This was from my father-in-law. I was laid off, took up a shitty job, quit it when I found a better one, but it still took a bit longer to get started. I was late on rent repeatedly for the past few months due to lack of money. You are a project, an investment, said by my dad. You know, maybe if you lost some weight, we'd have sex more often. I went on to lose 35 pounds and then realized that no, it wasn't because I was chubby. It was because I am me. I think the worst thing anyone ever said to me was a work colleague randomly having a hissy fit and shouting out loud that I was shit at my job and everyone knows it. For some reason, this was on my mind more than any other comment. Maybe because I know it's untrue, I'm surprised he would say such a thing after everything I've done for him in the past and the blatant double standards. He chooses to ignore anything negative that his best mates do. He's too much of a coward to say the same thing to them. So in primary, I was best friends with this girl. Let's call her Sophia. So me and Sophia stopped talking when we joined high school, which I didn't really care about. Just proves how much we loved each other. And basically, we were in a group chat with most of our friends. One night, I was talking to someone else, calling an emo boy sexy, as that's what we'd like to talk about. Sophia, being the nasty person she is, started on me because she was trying to sleep. I told her to mute the chat, and as a comeback, she says she wishes to mute me in real life. From that moment on, I knew she was about to get mean. She began to tell everyone my secrets, and from then on, when we were younger, and that hurt so bad. But what hurt most was when she called me pathetic, immature, and that I think I'm everything. So let's get to where she was very wrong. I was a very insecure person and still am, meaning I wouldn't ever think I'm just everything, just to say. Also, I was very mature for my age. I think she was getting mixed up with herself, and I don't know if that's correct. Well, I know it does sound pathetic, but things like that still hurt. You're not ugly, but the mole near your mouth is. This was from my mother. Now, I wear a mask everywhere, or at least a mask that would cover my mouth. She would always suggest mole removal surgery, which according to her is free in Taiwan, and she herself has had many spots removed. I found an old driver's license of hers, and with all the spots, it's like she turned into a different person. And of course, she would always comment on my body, and she obviously had more negative comments the more I wore clothes that actually fit me. We had a secret Valentine in our school. I was 16 and I got 3 votes. I thought I was the shit until I read them. It said, "Hillbilly idiot. You smell really bad. I bet you F sheep." But then an amazing friend told me who the girls who did this were, and I hid hard-boiled eggs in their lockers. Hee hee. Guess who's the stinky one that week? During a prostate exam, "I love you" was said. That's a little awkward. I asked a girl out after being with her for years as a friend. She said that I am not lovable as your fraud, as I am a fraud, and I deserved a divorced mom or disabled girl and not someone like her. It's not much hurting, but it was the only hurting thing I can remember just now. I now pronounce you man and wife. No one will ever want your scars. I think my friend meant to convince me to stop self-harming. To say it was unsuccessful would be an understatement. Was said about 12 years ago and is still causing me issues. You are not my daughter anymore, after I refused to pay monthly fees for living in my own apartment when I was 18. At football practice in ninth grade, coach got in front of me, coached to me in front of everyone else on the team. You have the body of a receiver and the legs of a lineman. You suck. I don't think you'll ever get a job. This came from my girlfriend at the time, now ex, knowing I was a recent grad, immigrant, and was struggling with crippling anxiety and depression. You aren't gay, you're just doing it for attention. Not the worst, as it is emotionally damaging, but the worst is extreme and all around weird. One time I was at this drama camp and there was this kid who hated my guts for some reason, and at some point I told him that he'd been really annoying literally everyone the entire week because of his weird vendetta against me. He then accused me, then 9-year-old, of committing war crimes. I don't even remember what the context was, but this is why nobody likes you. God damn it if it hasn't stuck with me for a decade. Mom said she hates me. Well, I hate you too, you sullen bitch. Leaving as soon as senior year finished, as in high school. But after that, I don't give a fuck what happens to her. Honestly, wouldn't give her an effing funeral when she dies. She's an effing whore. I'm her drug-addicted mistake, and I've had to do everything in my power to stop her from ruining my life. Maybe you should see a therapist. She has no personality. She is nothing. Said by a guy I liked a lot after flirting with me online and later in real life, and after having a romantic weekend with me in London. I went to London thinking that it was just going to be a meeting of some online friends, and if it got to be more, I'd roll with it. The flirtation and long talks online made it seem like there was something there, but online is online, so I didn't want to put too much weight on it. From the second I walked in the door, he was on me like a whip. He acted like he liked me, slow kisses and slow dancing, romantic dinners and hand-holding in the rain, a master manipulator who made me fall for him even harder. After I had gone back home to my own country, his roommate, who was my friend before the guy and I started talking, asked about me, and he answered with that pearl, "She has no personality. She is nothing. Nothing has ever hurt me more," and the next week he did it to some other girl. Back in my freshman year of high school, a kid said to me he was going to kill me. I just told him to F off before slapping him. He happened to be friends with a boy I kicked in the crotch, or in the gooch between the butt and the balls, for trying to blind me with a laser pointer. He had it coming. Bald-headed niglet. Wow. You're not a backup option. You're not an option at all. I've had many people and my online FPs tell me to kill myself because I was being kind because I was being kind in chat. I generally can let it go easily, but it's still horrible to think that someone would be evil like that, especially when someone is trying to lift others up. I realize now that a person like you can't be loved. This was for my first ex. Since then, I've actually experienced my longest relationship, and I'm still with this guy, but it still hurt, remembering that. My dad once told me that he wished I was the miscarriage my mom had had between me and my sister. My ex saying she got bored of me. I'm actually happy that this is the worst thing someone has said to me. Ninth grade school year just ended. I was at a Friday night youth group while most of my friends were hanging out somewhere in town. One of them calls me and tells me they all hate me and don't want to see me all summer. I was obviously hurt and devastated. Later that night, I found out that the girl who called and the other person were the only ones that felt that way, and the rest of my friends had no idea she called to tell me this until she told them after the fact. People are only nice to you because they pity you. That line stuck with me my whole life, and I developed serious trust issues with people. I had a disability growing up. I've overcome it, though. I met people who actually liked me for me outside of my hometown. Someone like you should die. I was 10 years old when I was told this, and it was by people I considered friends, only to have them turn on me to bully me. It really hit me hard. I had a giant chat room keep telling me the devil, calling me the devil, and that there was no evidence to support their claim. Boy, are they in trouble. When I die, tell my mother you were the reason why. An ex of mine. Though we were children, I don't even count on him. But this is to me, and I don't want it to be with him any more, as he was very manipulative. This requires a bit of context. About 2 years ago now, my brother cheated on his girlfriend of 10 years. He would take this girl home after work and spend anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours at her house. It didn't help that the three of us worked at the same place and the same shift, so I would be stuck for the duration of however long he wanted to stay there. There came a day when my brother's significant other came to me about her suspicions. Me, being the kind of person I am, couldn't just lie to her about it since I was a direct witness to it. A couple of days after that, I woke up for work late on the day of his daughter's birthday party, and my brother had left to go pick up this girl, and then came back to the house to get me, which caused a plethora of problems. My brother's significant other confronted the girl, which angered my brother, of course. We had to pick someone else up before we headed to work, but as we stopped by a streetlight, my brother looks me dead in the eyes in the back seat and says, You're not my brother. It's not the worst thing I could have heard, but the words definitely cut deep. We've patched things up since then, but the scar will always be there. I was 15 at the time and dating a guy I met at scout camp. I was a clingy, hopeless romantic. Bad home life, yada yada yada. I could see him losing interest. I started telling him I loved him, even though we'd only been together like a month. I guess he took that to mean I'm done. The same with all my boyfriends before him, because one day he said, You're like an I love you slut. Sounds stupid and childish, but I think about it every time I tell my current boyfriend I love him, or he says it to me. I'm now in my 20s. Nobody said it to me. It was an ad. Traditional Sunday roast, aka KFC. No, KFC is not a traditional Sunday roast. Well, I guess that's where we're going to leave that one. So I hope you have enjoyed listening to some of these. Enjoy is maybe a strong word. Some of these are pretty sad and eye-opening, depressing, causing anxiety and remorse, and a fair bit of introspection, I hope. Be very careful what you say to people, I guess, is the whole theme of this. You know, you may say it in anger, you may say it in a rush of whatever, but it can definitely stick with people. So just be careful what you say and how you say it. Don't be a dick is the line here. Anyway, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.